marketers. Deborah Eckerling here.
And I'm Keith Smith, and we host the MPN Meta Marketing Show, which is not just another marketing podcast, but the marketing podcast about all the other marketing podcasts.
Podcasts are booming, right? We love them, and people actually listen. They don't scroll, they don't swipe. Well, except maybe during the ad breaks.
But here's the secret. With the Marketing Podcast Network, your ads don't make people hit skip. We put your brand on shows that people actually want to hear.
That's right. We match your message with podcasts that make marketing nerds like us perk up and take notes, or at least nod knowingly, pretending they understand.
And don't worry, because we'll deliver your ad naturally. People might even think that we love your brand personally, which of course we totally do, unless it's a veggie smoothie, then maybe not.
If you want your brand heard without making listeners roll their eyes,
head to marketingpodcasts.net and catch marketing fans at work, rest, and play. Seriously, your audience is already listening. Make sure they hear your brand and not our awkward jokes.
Join the conversation, because good ads shouldn't just be tolerated, they should be enjoyed.
Yes!
You enjoy podcasts. We know because you're listening to one. Hi, I'm Jason Falls, the executive producer of the Marketing Podcast Network. We love podcasts too, so much so that in addition to providing you with the great episode you're listening to, we also help businesses, brands, and even individuals produce their podcasts. MPN Studios offers podcast consulting and production services to help you get you or your business its very own podcast. We've helped dozens of smart people, advertising agencies, and brands develop podcasts. All you do is record your content or interview. We take that and deliver a professionally produced audio or video episode, complete with show notes, transcriptions, and even promotional clips to use on social media. And our monthly subscription prices are hard to beat. If you or your company are jonesing to have your own podcast to establish thought leadership, drive business leads, or just have fun talking about your business or topic of choice, we'd love to help. Learn more at marketingpodcasts.net/studio. That's marketingpodcasts.net/studio.
Marketing is hard. But I'll tell you a little secret. It doesn't have to be. Let me point something out. You're listening to a podcast right now, and it's great. You love the host. You seek it out and download it. You listen to it while driving, working out, cooking, even going to the bathroom. Podcasts are a pretty close companion. And this is a podcast ad. Did I get your attention? You can reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a pre-produced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience in their favorite podcasts with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com, that's LIBSYN, ads.com today.
Welcome to Your Radiant Spirit, a space for the conversations and colors that help you see yourself more clearly. I'm Heather Eck, an intuitive artist and guide, and I believe your soul speaks in the ways the mind can't always put into words, through color, energy, and the stories your body holds. This show is where we explore those messages. Through personal stories, deep conversations, and creative insight, we'll uncover what's been hidden, release what no longer serves, and begin to imagine what's possible when you live in full alignment with who you're meant to be. What you hear here is more than inspiration, it's an opening, a chance to feel the shift that could change everything. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's step into today's conversation. Welcome back to Your Radiant Spirit. This week, I am so excited to introduce to you Vicki Meigs. She is a spiritual life coach, master teacher, practical numerologist, vibrational and energetic healer, and channel who specializes in spiritual awakening. Her work lives at the intersection of spirituality and real life, supporting people in living their soul's calling, grounded, embodied, and integrated into a life they love. Through her unique soul story coaching and practical approach to numerology, Vicki equips people with a deeper understanding of themselves so they can navigate life's energetic cycles, move through transitions and up levels with clarity, leave behind the BS, heal what needs healing, and realign with their soul's purpose. She is a Master 33 ruling number 6, and her work supports people in returning to their original energetic signature of love, the inner tuning fork that allows them to live from self-trust, coherence, and inner authority. Vicki is known for holding a grounded, steady field where real shifts happen, especially in this one energy year, a time of building self-love and self-mastery. As old systems fall away, she helps people build a solid foundation of self-identity within themselves, attune to their soul's frequency, embody it, and radiate it outward as a new way of living and being. Vicki, welcome to the show.
I love your bio.
Thank you.
That is fantastic. I'm so excited to chat with you because I know we know each other, but it's always nice to be able to hear someone's story and just sort of dig into what actually sparked your journey into this kind of soul work. So, would you tell us a bit about how you got started?
Oh my gosh. Okay, yes. Well, I guess to go backwards, that master teacher is an actual educator. I spent 20 years in the public school system, as a teacher, as a curriculum coordinator, as an educational consultant. I actually even authored a book, and did the entire like educational conference tour thing, teaching other teachers and administrators how to get the most like out of their students, particularly in my field, which at the time was like English and writing. So I don't know, it was kind of a cool entryway. I guess I've always like found those like those little embers like inside of people that they don't even know exist, and I get to like fan those flames so that they can like truly feel like they have something incredible inside of them and like really find that passion and purpose. So I don't know, I've kind of just done that naturally all my life, which has been so beautiful. And then I guess probably about 10 years ago, I moved from Philadelphia area down to North Carolina, where I got to meet Heather, of course. Um, but when I came down here, I was no longer a teacher. I decided I was gonna not start over again in that space, but I became a youth director actually at a church. And so it was kind of cool. That was sort of my introduction into, I'll say, like the religious slash spiritual world. And I got to like be with these incredible like teenagers and their parents and develop these amazing retreats and spaces where they got to live into their great I am, right? Like from a religious perspective. And I think too, I don't know, I mean, I love God, and I'm not afraid to like talk about that like in these
Yeah.
spaces, but I think sometimes um in more religious contexts we forget like corporate religion does a really good job of like having people reach outside of themselves to connect with God. But like what I got to do was help these kids and parents, and people within our church spaces connect with the God within, with their inner divinity. And it was just so incredibly beautiful. And then what I realized probably during COVID, as I was pushing and shoving shit to happen for my congregation and for the people, I was like, I am not shutting down. I'm absolutely 100% not shutting down. I have to keep these doors open for these kids. The entire world is shutting down. Everything that they've ever known no longer exists. And I was like, there is no way in hell I'm not going to be there for them. So through that, we found a giant entertainment tent that was like 20 by 40. We had string lights, we had heaters, and we literally kept the doors open, like under the stars, under the lights, like just providing space for them to be. And in that, I learned to create these beautiful sacred spaces. And I learned that that is actually part of my coding. Like that is literally what I am here to do, is to create these beautiful sacred spaces for others to find their voice, to find themselves, to feel free to fall apart and crack wide open and, and then fly right into whatever infinite potential. But honestly, for myself, my own journey, what I realized was I was doing this all for others and not for me, not for myself,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And so during COVID, because of all that pushing and shoving and forcing and making sure that I was strong enough to hold these spaces for these other people, I ended up with a bleeding ulcer.
Oh my goodness.
Bleeding ulcer. Um, And my doctor was like, listen, you cannot keep doing this. You have to find like some quiet. You have to find some space. You have to be able to have some peace in your life. He's like, can you try meditating? Like do something. And I was like, I don't know, I can't meditate. I'm so busy, right? I can't quiet my mind. I'm constantly I don't have time or space for that. And he's like, listen, like you're gonna end up in the hospital like long term. if you don't actually, if you do not actually stop and create space in your own life for you. And that was honestly the best advice I ever could have been given because that really started my journey. Once I started meditating and breathing, I actually had to go to a retreat to learn how to like
Learn how to
my
do
mind,
that. Yeah.
to learn how to meditate and to learn how to do breath work. And I did. And I started with like just 5 minutes a day, and then it went to 8, and then 12 and 15 and whatever. But through that, through creating that quiet and that space for myself, oh my gosh, I got so many just like incredible like downloads and moments of peace and moments of clarity. And that I think is really what started my journey. Like I realized I was doing all this stuff for other people, but never provided that sanctuary for myself because I was always the one holding the space for everyone else.
Hmm.
And I realized how incredibly important it is to come back home to you
Yeah.
always. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that story. I think that's so powerful, especially because I think a lot of times we're not aware of how what the work that we're doing, whether it's putting fantastic, wonderful, good things out into the world, is impacting us physically,
Mm-hmm.
spiritually, emotionally. And it's kind of like that the cobbler's children have no shoes, right? That you can be out
Exactly.
there doing all of this work, but if you're not tending to yourself, giving yourself space, nurturing yourself, then you run yourself into the ground. So that sounds like that was a big turning point for you where you
That's
really had to,
huge.
yeah.
Yeah, huge, huge, huge.
Was your interest in numerology and things like that always part of you? Like I know when I was a kid, art was a big part of my life growing up. Did you, and I was always into astrology, numerology. Like you could, everything that I was interested in as like 7, 8-year-old Heather still exists in me today. Was that part of your childhood too?
I will say yes and no. Like it was generally not like accepted conversation like in the household where I grew up. It wasn't, there was really very little self-reflect. It was not a good situation.
Mm,
It was not a good situation growing up, and I had to actually even like from the age of 5 like adult myself and my siblings
mm,
and my parents even sometimes. So like even from that age. So I will say that back when we used to get like the newspaper though, like the astrology section was always one of my favorites. And I've always been really into like dreams and things like that. And I've always been incredibly intuitive to energy like in a space or with a person and that kind of stuff. But I think too, I think that does come from my background of, oh, like I was the oldest, and so I always had to be the one like on guard, right? And
mm-hmm,
so I would be the one who would like kind of just sit watching, and I would feel the energy shift before the thing actually happened. So I could be like, "Okay, let's
mm-hmm.
go, we're going in the bedroom right now, all right, we're going outside, or all right, we're,"
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
Mm-hmm.
I think those things came online for me early, sort of out of necessity more so than natural inclination. But in my work, like in this space as an adult, like I actually realized that a lot of these things they actually have been part of my coding. It's just that like I was never really truly in touch with it in a pure sense. It was out of a more of a survival sense, I guess, if
Yeah.
I know this sounds so dramatic, and I don't mean it to
No, it's
I don't
okay.
mean it to
No,
sound dramatic, but
yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And sorry to have put you on the spot with that, but I always think about how your gifts show up for you when you're
mhm,
younger and how even if you're not aware of them, they were there for you. And so you were
mhm,
using them even as a young person. And they, I
absolutely.
think, influence who you become and what kind of work you do in the world too. If you're really attuned to it, if you're aligned to it, it comes back around to find you because it was
It
always
does.
part of your natural inclination.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. And I will say, like, I've always felt like incredibly, like, in spite of like all the craziness and things that happened in my life, I've always felt incredibly like held. I've always felt incredibly supported. I've always felt like this deeper connection with something greater.
Mhm.
And call it God, call it spirit, call it whatever you want to call it. But I've always felt like, regardless of whatever is going on, like outside of me, the inside of me was tethered.
I love that. That's really beautiful. I
Yeah,
love, you talked about numerology. That's a big part of your work. How do
it
you
is now.
use,
Yeah.
yeah. How do you describe numerology's power in helping people understand themselves more deeply, especially as you're like, I love that expression you use. You see the ember and you're fanning
Yes.
the flames. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, I love, we all love those personality tests, right?
Yeah.
Like we all love like the Myers-Briggs and stuff like that. And like what I've found with a lot of those standard personality tests, like they change over time, right? And there's certain things that don't. And so I think the first one that really got me into this prior to numerology was like Enneagram,
Hmm.
which you may be familiar with that as well. But like the Enneagram, I'm an Enneagram 8. And so my Enneagram 8 shows up as that like big energy, huge protector, like very strong, very powerful, like people naturally look to me like as a guide in spaces, whether I'm there to be guiding or not, which is like, which is cool, right? It's like, okay, that explains a lot, but it made me feel like, okay, all this armor that I'm wearing, like, that's why I have the armor because I'm there, like, as the protector, right? But then once I learned and really like dove into the numerology space, I'm a ruling number 6. And my ruling number 6 is all about like harmony and love and recalibration and realignment, like literally back to yourself, right? And that I get to create like that's the protection and that's the peace that I get to give. And when
Hmm.
I learned that that was part of my essence, like it allowed me to soften into that part of me, right? It allowed me to take off my armor because you can't hug your people well, right? When you're all
Yeah.
armored up, you can't, you just can't. And so learning my numerology codes, and it didn't initially, like I've heard of it like over the years, like here and there, and I wasn't ready, I just wasn't ready to receive it. But once I actually was, like it suddenly like literally like opened up my heart and like opened up this pathway to me actually leaning into myself. Like I almost feel like your ruling number alone, like there's so much more that goes into numerology, but learning your ruling number alone is almost like God's fingerprint on your soul, right? It's
Mm.
all I like to think of it as it's like your energetic signature of universal love in the world. It's like this is the aspect of love that you are here to share with those that you care about, with those in your world, with those in your sphere, in your orbit. And when you start showing up in that way, it is so incredible. Like when you can actually like embody that and show up as that, like in your world, like how that radiates and how it magnetizes just everything that you want in your life, it starts like clicking, it starts clicking into space. So I don't know, like I just kind of love it. Like I feel like it's a beautiful entryway.
Yeah.
So many people right now, and there are some energetics like in the world and around the earth that are happening right now. And some of this, and in some of our circles we may have heard about these things, right? It's like the dissolution of systems and structures and things that don't serve us anymore, right? And we're new different ways of being are kind of coming online. And so I think there are a number of people who are in this place where they have been living this life where they have followed all the rules, right? Like these are, like the good girls or like the rule followers who have
Hmm.
gotten the good grades in school. They've done everything right. They got in the good college. They found the husband or the wife. They got the good job and all the stuff. They have like the beautiful house and the amazing vacations and all this stuff. And they get there and they're like, I followed the rules. I got here. So by every measure of success, I should feel successful, right? Like by every measure of success, I should feel so fulfilled and so amazing and so good. And then like I just don't. Like
Yeah.
what? And then it becomes like, what is wrong with me? Like why is nothing good enough for me? Like, look around, look at all of this beautiful, like, stuff that I have that I've worked really hard for. It's not a matter of like laziness at all, right? Like, I've worked really hard for all of this stuff. And yet, so many of us are still unsatisfied.
Hmm.
And we're thinking, like, is it me? Like, what is wrong with me? And it's not. It's just that we never honored ourselves in that. We never looked at what our own interpretation of success actually is, like what is actually fulfilling to us. And I don't know. So I feel like just even starting with your ruling number, if you can identify like those core, it helps you identify like what your core values are. And I use it to create like a heart compass, which becomes like a litmus test of like, yes, this thing is for me. No, that thing is absolutely not for me. So it becomes very easy once you start embodying that to be like, okay. And your body knows because it feels good, right? Like it
Mm-hmm.
feels good, it feels warm, it feels whole. You get this like whole body, like, yes, like this lean in fully yes attitude with it. So I love working with that. It's just one of my many coaching tools, but it's just I think it's an excellent like starting point for you to start seeing like, oh, wait, like this is how I'm actually like wired. This is what I'm wired to embody, to be, to share, to radiate with the world. Like how beautiful is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, listening to you and watching your energy respond to how you're talking to those things. I think I wish the listeners could see because Vicki just lights up and her energy gets big and she gets warm and cozy and she pulls herself in. And so I can tell how much you align with the language of that ruling number and how passionate you are about helping people understand and see themselves through that ruling number too. That's
Yeah,
big.
yeah.
That's big business.
It's
Yeah.
huge. And I think too, I don't know, I feel like I'm just one of these like great disruptors. I feel like this is also this is also in my coding, this that I'm just this great disruptor. But I also really feel like, and we talked about this a little bit too, like the gatekeeping around this stuff. Um, I don't know. I'm done with that. Like I am
Yeah.
done with the gatekeeping. It's not, and I want people to understand like your numerology codes and your energy, like it is yours. And if I can help you tap into that, like if I can help be your guide to like find that inside of you,
Hmm.
then that is, can I cuss? I wanted to say
Yeah.
fucking amazing. Okay, then that is fucking amazing. Right? Like then that's like the most amazing gift that I can give you. But it is yours, right? Like you don't need me to like hold your hand in it.
Yeah.
Like I can just give you the keys. Like I get to that's the beauty of what I get to do. Like I get to give you the keys back to your own life so that you don't have to follow anybody else's script anymore. You get to like totally like rewrite the rules and become like a living embodiment of this energetic signature of love in the world. Like,
Hmm.
how fantastic is that? And it feels so good and it feels so warm. And then as you start embodying that and as you start living into it, like the other people around you also, they just rise with you. Because this is part of it too. When we as women, and you may have felt this a little bit too growing up, right? Like we get these like conflicting messages about like you want to be like the good girl and you want to say yes and you want to like people please and you want to kind of like quietly just agree, right? Because we don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. But then there's this other like I don't know, kind of like boss bitch mentality that has also come online that in order to have your voice actually heard, that you have to start embodying like these more masculine traits. And
Hmm.
what happens like inside of us, like that's I don't want to say it's like a conflict, but the energy becomes confusing for the people around us because we're not just embodying who we are, we're playing these roles
Yeah.
of like this soft-spoken good girl who agrees to everything. And also we want to control absolutely everything
Yeah.
right in our
Yeah.
lives. And so the people around us, they don't know where to be or how to be with us, right? Like because it's like that energy is so chaotic.
Yeah.
But when we align to who we truly are on the inside, like it is so freaking cool because then the other people around us kind of settle in and they know where to be and they know how to sit with us and they know like and particularly like as a woman for the men in our lives, like when we figure out where we are, then they get to come in and figure out how to hold those banks to our river, right? Like
Yeah.
so that we get to flow and they get to be, that divine masculine that we want them to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I feel like you have such a gift of writing and a gift of talking about these things in a way that makes me go, yes, you get it. You see us. You help us understand ourselves from a bigger picture perspective. And I think the thing that I keep thinking about is this idea of the representative self that we send out into the world, that we ask
Yeah.
to do things for us or to show up for us in certain situations, when I think the biggest form of self-care probably is to just try and be yourself no matter what situation you're in.
A
But I
100%, 100%. And we talk about self-care in terms of like get the massage, get your nails done, get your hair done,
but
right?
that's
And
not
that's
it.
important too. But
Yeah.
actual self-care is leaning into that like soul self version of you
Mhm.
and truly embodying it and honoring it with the life that you're living.
Yeah. And I think it's
Yeah.
cool too that you have such awesome practical tools that sort of act as like that, like you said, the gateway to kind of understand yourself. You're like, okay, let's start with something that you can sort of digest and read about and learn about. What is your ruling number? But then I
Mhm.
think you also have these really amazing tools. You do coaching with people, you do all
Yeah.
sorts. So tell us how, when you first get a client, what's your approach to working with them so that you can sort of start to figure out how do we craft a strategy or a plan or the flow that we can get into to help you, number one, learn yourself, know yourself, and then act and live authentically into that each day.
Well, truly, it starts with just like a strategy session so that I know exactly like what it is that you want to work on and what your goals are, and perhaps even like what your struggles are and things like that. But truly, the ruling number and the numerology pieces are at the forefront just because it gives you something tangible that you can lean into. And so, as I was saying, I'm sorry, it's thundering, and my little dog
Same.
wants to like climb right up in my lap
I don't
right
know if you
now.
can hear the rain out there, but we are getting like torrential rain. I'm
It
curious.
is, it is.
Yeah.
But it's like this cleansing, right? It's like this
Yeah.
is that's
We need
exactly
it. Yeah.
yep, that's exactly what it is. So it does I do start actually like with that ruling number in most cases to help you find your heart compass, to help you figure out like what are those, and it's like values based. It's truly like what is on your heart, what is in your soul, like what are the things that are so significant to you. And then we get to use that as a guide as we go through everything else, right? Like
Mm.
this again, this becomes our litmus test and how we go and how we follow through that. But it is such a beautiful, beautiful process when people start like cracking open and realizing that like, oh my gosh, like I actually am like designed to love people, or I actually am designed to like create order, or I actually am designed to. So what can I ask what your ruling number is?
Yeah, I'm a 9.
You're a nine. So so Heather and I have talked about this a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. So when you learned about your ruling number, were there any things in you that kind of like spoke to you that you really leaned into with that?
Yeah, for sure. I think the interesting thing about my numerology in general is that I'm nines across the board, all
Yeah. Yeah.
nines, and I'm even an Enneagram 9. So the
Mhm.
9 is just pervasive. And
Yeah,
that's a really powerful number. So
it is.
just knowing that number, I think helps me feel more confident in situations where I might think, oh, imposter syndrome sets in, or I doubt my intuitive abilities, or I sort of question whether, oh, do you hear that thunder? It scared me. Sometimes if I feel like in doubt or I start to question, I go back to that and I'm like, no, actually, this is, like you say, coded in my whole,
Yep.
it's everywhere. I can't
Yeah.
deny it. The numbers don't lie.
Cannot.
It's just part of who I am spiritually, emotionally. It is a deep, deep very strong number in my chart.
It
Yeah.
is. And I love that you mentioned too that like that self-doubt, like when that self-doubt creeps in, you just kind of come back to that and you're like, no, actually, like this is who I am. I get to show up. I get to show up knowing shit because I'm
That's right.
trying to know that, right? Like nine is numerology runs in those cycles of 1 through 9, right? And so you have literally been through, you have the wealth of knowledge and wisdom of all of the other numbers culminating with 9. So you have this incredible perspective that you can see things, right? Like before, like you can see things for what they are. You can call out the bullshit.
Yeah.
And you can really honor your own intuition in those spaces, which of course you do beautifully in your art, and you get to help people in that space, right? Like you get to bring that like recalibration of justice, right? I think we talked about
Yeah,
that
we talked about
too,
that.
right?
Yeah.
That recalibration of like justice and bringing you back home and honoring that honoring of yourself is so, so, so important. And you bring that to all of your clients too, right? And so this is part of the journey. So in my own coaching, it's helping you like the work, it is all yours. Like you literally already have this treasure trove of so many beautiful and incredible tools, but it's helping you to realize what they are and helping you to access them so that way you can tap into them regardless of where you're going in your life. And so I do work with individuals working on like individual breakthroughs and things like that. I also work with couples to help them figure out where they can plug in and where their energetic signatures of love overlap. And also I do a little bit of work with entrepreneurs as well. I don't consider myself like a marketing expert or anything like that, but like through your codes, like I can help you to also figure out like who are your soulmate clients and how can you align with them through like your marketing and messaging. And Heather and I may or may not have something fun in the background going on with that as well.
We do. Yeah. That's so cool. I love that. I think for people who are listening right now and they're going, I want that. I want to embody that. But I would love to ask you to, if you could leave us with one small but powerful ritual that we can use to sort of go back and find our centers or just realign with the truth of who we are, what would you leave us with?
Oh gosh. Oh my goodness. Okay. You're putting me on the spot here.
Take your time. Take your time.
But I think the big thing is I do a lot of work with heart mind coherence. And so learning to breathe into your heart space, like feeling like I know we breathe into our lungs, right? Like I know that.
Right.
But those who are listening to you, they're probably used to this kind of talk and
Of
this kind of
course. Yeah.
brain. So if you can just imagine like breathing that beautiful like crystalline white light energy in like directly into your heart space, and as you are trying to think through something, like I know a lot of us get caught up in the brain spaghetti up here, but if we can pass it through our hearts first and then transfer it up to our brains, that is where we have that kind of alignment so that we can get out of our sympathetic response that puts us into fight, flight, or freeze, and instead get into this is just my natural state of being. And I am naturally in that state of flow. So literally breathing into that heart space and kind of setting your desires into it and breathing that in and then pulling it up into your mind and kind of letting that float around. So doing that anytime you have like a big task that you need to do is kind of beautiful and amazing to kind of just like set the scene before you get into your anxiety and brain spaghetti.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. That's beautiful. And I just did last month a heart chakra workshop, and it's giving me another idea, maybe another way we can collab on doing some heart clearing, breathing into the authentic self. That's so important. So, so important. Well,
It
thank
is.
you so much, Vicki. I love you. I think you're wonderful. I feel like you pulled me into your enthusiasm for living into ourselves authentically and understanding ourselves through numerology. And it's so powerful. And I hope that you go listen to Vicki on Instagram and also go check out her website so that you can figure out your own numerology number and start to learn yourself. But
Yeah, start embodying it and
start
living
embodying it
into it.
today. Yeah.
Yes, yes, Heather, I have so enjoyed being here. I love you so much. Love
I
being
love
in
you
your
too.
energy and in your orbit. So thank you so much for inviting me on.
Of course. Thank you so much.
My friends, if you'd like to connect with Vicki beyond today's conversation, you can find her on Instagram, where she shares monthly energy forecasts, practical numerology insights, and guidance for navigating spiritual awakening in real life. She's also offering a 6-week in-person awakening experience in Raleigh called Awakening, Shifting the Frequency in the Field, beginning just this February. Coming soon, she's opening a year-long coaching and field-based mastermind called Soul-Led, The Art of Embodied Awakening, for those who are ready to fully integrate their awakening into their lived life. So you can explore more of Vicki's offerings, workshops, and receive a free ruling number description at www.rootedinreal.com. That's rooted-n-real, REAL.com, or by connecting with her directly, which I'm sure she'd love. If you haven't already gotten my free color healing kit, grab it. It is a 15-page journal, all related to helping you understand more about color, the way it supports you in your life. And as a special gift for downloading the color healing kit, you also get free access to my color healing calls. They are a free monthly color healing community call where we can hop on together, do a little therapeutic art, talk all about color, and you get special access to one-on-one color readings with me. That's it for this week, my friends. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for being here. Take care. Thank you for joining me today on Your Radiant Spirit. Every conversation here is an invitation to go beyond the surface, to listen to what your soul has been whispering, and to step into the life you've been longing for. If you're ready to go deeper, to work in a way that's personal, creative, and profoundly transformative, you'll find ways to connect with me in the show notes. Whether it's through art, a guided session, or a fully immersive journey, you'll discover a space where your truth is seen and your next chapter begins. If this episode spoke to you, it would mean the world if you shared it with a friend, left a review, or subscribed so more people can discover the conversations we have here. Until next time, my friend, keep noticing the colors, the moments, and the nudges. They're all leading you home. And for now, take a breath, hold on to what resonated, and carry it with you into the rest of your day. Thanks for listening.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.